Bum, 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 bum. I think that's got it. That's got it. Here we are. It's the Stratosphere Lounge, episode number 83, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's episode 83. Look how new everything looks. I look new. Everybody looks new. The office looks new. Everything's fantastic. And it's great to be here. And it's going to take a little getting used to some of these new camera angles, but we are recording. We're streaming. We're doing all kinds of cool things. And this office is just about done. It's just about done. So actually, I think I might take the headphones off because it looks like there's a little delay. That delay's in the... Yeah, that's weird. In any event, presumably you can see me, hear me. Everybody getting the picture out there? This is episode 83. The last one also was episode 83, but we just moved to the new Ustream software, and there was a button that didn't get pushed, and it was a big button. It was an important button, and it didn't get pushed. So the one that we did last time, if you saw it, it's in the ether. It's gone now. We got all kinds of cool stuff moving forward into live stream. But right now, we're doing the last of the ones on Ustream because we just didn't quite get back there in time. However, as you can see behind me here, we've got some progress on the office. I've been talking about how this thing has just been taking forever and holding me up and just, longer than I thought, maybe 3-4 weeks. But now it's starting to look like it was 12. But, as we say in the Stratosphere Lounge, that's in bill time. So give me a second here. I'm going to have a quick sip of water, put this microphone down, and I'll do a little panning, and I'll show you what we got going here. And then next time we'll be in business. But hang on one second here. Boy, that's tasty. All right, let's see. We got all kinds of cool things. We got webcam control going here that we didn't have before. We can zoom in. We can zoom out a little bit. And we can pan. So I'm going to give you guys just a quick kind of a quick scan and pan from where we were last time because it's come a long way. So excuse the bumpiness here. But in short form, I can't quite get you around the corner here, around this corner. That's where Astro Girl is. But as you come in the door, you see my super cool James T. Kirk over there of the Starship Enterprise. He's the first thing you see as you come in the door. And then this is part of my up-close room, and I'll show you that in a second. There's my Sky God in his command chair. Those are 3 Enterprise pictures he's looking at, and I will backlight those. It's about the only thing left to do, honestly, is backlighting those guys. You can still obviously see we've still got things on the ground, and we're not quite completely cleaned up yet, but you get the general idea. And as we come around to the right, hey, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Stratosphere Lounge actual stage, which we will be performing from next time. And as you can see, I wasn't kidding, that is actually up and there. We got the 2 space chairs that are incredibly gorgeous and the most uncomfortable chairs on the face of the earth, but they are really, really cool. And we have an actual stage and an actual riser and everything else. So moving along in the back here, I can't really tell you what that is just yet. I'll tell you in a minute. Off in the back, it's hard to do this backwards with the camera. Sorry about the shaky, earthquakey thing. There's my 2001: A Space Odyssey lounge in the back of the Stratosphere Lounge. Trying to get this more or less stable. And then some more Sid Meads on the blue wall. You can see 4 of them lit up like that. And you might be able to tell what that orange creature is on the orange wall on the left, but we'll get to that in a second. Those of you that haven't figured it out yet, you're going to get it when you get a look at this next picture. Because when you come in the front door, first thing you see is Astro Girl, but then you see that. And for those of you who can make it out on camera, that's a home gym, so I'm warning you, ladies. That is James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise. And he is fashioning a cannon out of saltpeter, bamboo, rope, handmade rope, charcoal, sulfur, bashing it together. And if you look at his expression, it's really hard to see from here, but he looks like he's got to hurry because something's coming. And you don't get to see what's coming until you come in the room. And when you come in a room and turn the corner, you can just barely see. I can't get any closer than this. We'll do a video tour, obviously. He's looking at the Gorn captain, who is actually bigger than life size, and he's holding his obsidian blade dagger. And this is the greatest moment of all time in the greatest show of all time, because this, my friends, is Western thinking. This is James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise figuring out that he's not going to be able to be stronger than this Gorn, so he's going to have to be smarter than he is. And so he makes a gun. He makes a gun. It's incredible. This whole place is amazing. I got some pictures for you. Let me get back into the shot here. But you know what I'm going to do just real quick? Just to give you an idea of the scale, because it really is impressive. I'm going to run over and stand next to the Gorn Captain, and then I'll come back and continue with the show. So hang on one second here. Don't go away. He's big. My friends, behold the wonders of capitalism. It's exactly right. Joe Baseball said it's Disneyland for adults, and not real adults either, just, my kind. It's exactly what I was looking for, Joe, to be honest with you, Disneyland for adults. I really, honestly, was hoping to put something in here that was going to be, I signed a 3-year lease, so I said to myself, I'm going to be here for 3 years, I want to have fun, and we're having fun. And so this is where we've been working. So at least, I know I've had to delay a lot of things. I mean, just the track lighting. I don't know if you see the track lighting on the roof up here. Just that is a lot of work. And I thought it was never going to end. I really, honestly did. I really, really began to think, no, we're never gonna get out of it. It's never going to end. We're going to be building this thing forever. But as it turns out, it actually did end, and while it's not finished yet, I think it'll be finished by tomorrow, certainly the next day, and then we can get on with producing some of our stuff. But we'll do a video tour. We'll do a real nice video walkthrough, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But I did take some stills just real quick on the way in, so I thought maybe I'd just give that to you fast. Here, my friends here at the Stratosphere Lounge. Our Stratos Loungers always have the first look at everything. They're the inside elite of the inside elite. So here's a couple quick shots real quick. In the big boxes behind me there, as somebody just asked, I said it briefly earlier, those are gym equipment. Got a home gym, and so watch out. Let's see what we got here. So if you come in, walk in the front door, first thing you see is this. There's Astro Girl looking awesome, and Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise. So that's the first thing you see when you come in, and then if you come in a little bit further, you can see a little bit better. There's Cannon Kirk over there on the left, getting ready to take out the Gorn Captain. And then after that, if you start turning the corner to where I'm sitting right now, you get a lot of Sid Mead, and you get the Starfleet Vector, which is always a nice thing to have working for you, right over your head there. Here's the next shot as you start to approach the work throne. I'm also on a little riser, actually. And here's a final look at the 4K monitor, which doesn't suck at all. At all. That's pretty cool, and we're talking about year 2, so I'll give you a quick preview of the year 2 banner on the website. We're going to have all of our new mugs, all of our new t-shirts, everything else is going to be in this year 2 format. So here you go. Tell me what you think. I think this is wicked cool. So we've done some mock-up mugs in the year 2 banner. And we're going to have black t-shirts with the year 2 thing with all that kind of color again. And it's just going to be kick butt. It's getting there. And Scott Mizicki said Bill may be a Star Trek fan. Maybe he's starting to get some sort of slight hint. It's actually kind of the museum of the original series Star Trek here. Works for me, frankly. I'm totally okay with that. But I just love this graphic. I just think it's really, really cool. And we've seen it mocked up on mugs and on black t-shirts, and it's just I think it's super powerful, dynamic, and I don't want to overthink it or anything, but I really do like the idea that the the red and the orange kind of fireball-y stuff is the passion, and the blue kind of electrical stuff is the intellect. And it's just, I don't know, I love it. It came together really fast for me. I knew I wanted something different. I found the online art and put a couple of them together. I probably did this banner in 3 or 4 hours, I guess. But that's, I really like it. I like it a lot. And I like this office an awful lot. And let's, why sit all the way back out there when you can zoom in? So everything here is actually starting to happen. And I know I've been making a lot of promises, and as usual, I'm behind schedule because that's how I roll. But yes, this will be your year 2 swag. This is what's going to be on all of the new memberships that go out, and will be bumper stickers as well as t-shirts, mugs, and the mugs and the t-shirts especially just look awesome. The test pattern Indian will be there on the Stratosphere Lounge stuff. As you can see, I just had was it Brian Yoder said he misses the test pattern Indian, but never fear, because the test pattern Indian will be here. We're going to do a line of Stratosphere Lounge stuff, and I'll just cut to that real quick so you can see. We'll put in a clothing line and bumper stickers and t-shirts as well. So here's Stratosphere Lounge. Let's have a quick look at this. So your test pattern Indian will be there in your Stratosphere Lounge stuff, and everything else is pretty cool. And I just, I don't know, I love it. I'm actually kind of tempted to kind of cheat the logo a little bit, kind of almost tempted to do the whole show kind of at an angle like this. But there it is, and that's pretty big too. And you know what? I'm going to do it because I can. And God knows I've been waiting long enough to show you guys the kind of preview of the thing. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run over and show you just how big that banner is, because that thing's about 12.5 feet long, something like that. Here we go. Ready? Hang on. We do have such fun here. Yeah, look at that. That's not bad, folks. I got to tell you, I have put a ton of work and money into this thing, and I'm as happy as I can be. Honestly, it's amazing what happens when you have a vision and a plan, and you insist on it really being right. I know that's a odd thing, but it really is important. We lost a week or two, I would say, by redoing things that didn't get exactly the way I wanted them, and now everything's pretty much exactly the way I want it, and I am a happy camper. So let's get on with the show, shall we? We're going to be talking about what's coming up in year 2. I tried to keep the questions just to that. It's been about, I think, 3 weeks since we did a Stratosphere Lounge, because of prior to just about a weekend ago, this last weekend when I got back from Florida, the place was just like it was hit with a bomb. It were just the floor was just completely covered with fasteners and all kinds of, just plaster, and it's just a complete mess. And I couldn't, wasn't a question I wasn't willing to show it to anybody. I just couldn't get any work done in here. And of course, these firewalls keep on coming. And the one I'm working on tonight for release on Thursday morning is about the Spaceship Two crash, called Crash in the Mojave, and that one's near and dear to my heart. But tonight we're gonna just be concentrating on what's up for year 2 coming up, because as you can see, I think I have some confidence that next week we will be able to broadcast from over there, because over there already exists, and so that's good. Okay, so let's see what we have in terms of the questions that I was able to pull. It won't be a super long show tonight, actually, but it was good to be back, and I definitely needed to be back. I've been traveling like crazy. I was in Florida, had a great 2 days down in Florida. And then I was up in Washington, up in Yakima yesterday. So good to be back. And let's talk about year 2, and then next week we'll start year 2 in Stratosphere Lounge on live stream. with new cameras and all kinds of cool stuff. So here we go. Took the questions in highest ranking order, and with the caveat that they were about, BillWhittle.com Year 2 stuff. I know there's been, like I said, several weeks without commentary, but we'll get to that later. Okay, here we go. Max Wild has the first question out of the gate. He says, "Hey, Bill, glad to have you back. Glad to be back, everybody. Max especially. Good to see you. What I'd like you to focus on in Year 2 is subverting the liberal narrative in the pop culture. Also, something that you talk about regarding the Hollywood culture that seeks to snuff out the voice of morality, I think needs to be pointed out more often. How pervasive and substantial is immorality throughout Hollywood these days?" Well, Max, as I say, you open the window just off to my left here, and you can see the giant Eye of Mordor. It's directly on the hill above this office. I get out all the time. Every single time I'm out of town, the one question I get by a factor of 5 over anything else is, why are you still there? Why are you not in someplace sensible like Texas or something? And I tell people, I have to live here because this is where the media comes from. It's where the pop culture comes from, and the pop culture is everything. It's everything. It's not one of the pieces on the board. It's what all the pieces of the board swim in. So, although I did have to say, I had a kind of a pithy turn of that phrase just last weekend. A couple of days ago, somebody asked me, "Why do you live in Los Angeles?" And I said, "Well, if you're a volcanologist, you got to live under the volcano, right?" So that's it. I live under the volcano, and it's awful, Max. It's just, you have no idea. You really have no idea just how awful it is in terms of the morality of this place. I could tell you stories that would curl your hair, but not in public. Really shocking. The bottom line is, in Hollywood, in terms of getting deals made, and Jeremy Boring pointed this out because he had a lot more real-world examples, every deal is made in flesh. There are just assumptions that are made. There are, and there are not just assumptions. There are just transactions. It's just assumed, and your liberalism is assumed. Jeremy's been to pitch meetings where people said, "Love your script. I'm real interested in developing it, and how much can we put you down for the Obama campaign?" That kind of thing. So, yeah, Max, it's bad out here, and the good news is that it's not bad out in the rest of the country. It's at least not as bad, and so movies with some morality in them do pretty well. The trick is, how do you get the morality in there without putting a cyst around the message so that nobody else gets it? That's going to be the challenge, and that's going to be especially a challenge for me moving forward. We've had the guts of this conversation before. I think it's probably a good conversation to have next week on the chair. And the nice thing about the set over there is we have 2 chairs, so we'll get some guests in here. And Andrew Clavin and Zoe are a couple of highly ranked people who are, I think, we're going to have early. Jeremy has a lot to say about show business too. But one of the problems we're going to have, I'm not going to get into it now, I've gotten into it a little bit, is we have to, I feel, I don't say we, I have to go after young people. I have to go get people who we don't have already. If we don't go after people who we don't have already, then we're going to lose this thing. And in order to go after those people, you have to go after them in their language. You have to bring them into the tent. And that works for me because I speak that language. And that language is considerably more profane than the language I use here and the language I often use and I like to use in my kind of higher self. And I'm not going to make these movies unwatchable. I will put out a PG version of everything I do. I'll put out a PG cut, which will, release for people who have the problems with the, extreme language or nudity. And I can't do anything that gets me an R because an R is a kiss of death. But with that said, I've had a lot of sharp discussions about this with people, and where I'm coming down with this is I'm going to make movies that I think young people are going to see, and I want to make it look like the movies that they already see, and I don't want them to think that these movies are any different. The things that these movies have in common is that they're not political movies. I want people who have their own weapons and their own cars fighting against the government. That's big bad problems, and also common sense resistance. And if I can do that, then I don't have to worry about the rest of it. There's an example I've used, and I don't know if I've used it recently on the show. I haven't done a show recently, so I guess I haven't. But I use this quite a bit when I take this question out in public on speaking engagements. There's a scene that the emotional center of Common Sense Resistance, which is movie 2, where this attractive guy who we kind of gotten to like is living in this world, and he's got a kind of a crappy apartment, kind of crappy food, kind of crappy, transportation, public transportation, and it's set in the future, and he's recruited by these powerful forces, and he then is offered better food and a pretty girlfriend and all this other stuff, but he decides to abandon that. And he goes, lives under the city, and people are shooting at him. He's covered in filth, and he's literally like eating rats on a spit, in an underground cavern, and his friends are fighting and dying for him. And the emotional climax of the movie, the emotional center of the movie anyway, is where he takes a bayonet and without anesthesia cuts a 1-inch, 2-inch incision in his arm, pulls the chip out of his forearm, smashes it against the concrete with the handle of the bayonet. And the point I try to make when I tell this to people is when you see somebody do that, it doesn't matter what the politics are because you're on that guy's side. You see a person give up freedom or give up security and give up safety and give up food and comfort to go and live in a world of danger and adventure and risk his life for a cause, you're with that guy. And when he volunteers to suffer that kind of physical pain, unbearable physical pain, in order to achieve something, you're with him. So is he fleeing a world of evil corporations, and is he joining the socialist underground? He's going to join the descendants of Che Guevara and Fidel Castro? Or is he fleeing a socialist world and he's going to join underground patriots? Doesn't matter. People still with the guy. So the power of the story is the thing that matters. It's the power of that story. And once you understand the power of the action of him cutting this chip out of his arm so that he can live off the grid with his brothers in arms who are fighting and dying for him against this world of boredom and mediocrity that he used to live in, you understand that people are going to be on the side of this guy. And whatever side he's on, the audience is going to be on. So that's where the politics comes in. Turns out he's fighting for freedom against a giant socialist state. But if I say he's fighting for freedom against a giant socialist state, it actually weakens it. It's much stronger to show people things than to tell them things. And I am particularly bad at this because I'm way, way, way too talky. So a lot of what I have to do with that movie and with all these movies is to take it down to the actions. With that said, Big Bad Problems is a horror movie. It's a science fiction adventure comedy, and it's fun. And everybody runs around and they have a great time, and their dialogue is very snappy, and people are real attractive. And the only politics we really get into there is when these two brothers, 16-year-old brother and probably a 28, 29, 30-year-old brother, get the two brothers run into their closets as their dad's turned into one of these horrible monsters. They run into their closets, they grab their AR-15s and their sidearms, and they run outside, and they hop into a giant RV, and the RV is filled with all kinds of electronic equipment that you get from Brookstone and whatever else, and they've got their own drones, they've got their own Air Force, they've got their own surveillance, they're doing countermeasures against government drones, they're doing all kinds of cool things. And what I've really got in Big Bad Problems, although you'd never hear anybody talk about it this way, is you've got a militia. You've got individual citizens who are fighting this alien invasion on their own, despite the fact that the government is in fact on the side of the aliens, trying to present enough of a threat for them to have the power to step in and take over. So I'm not saying Republicans or Democrats. I'm just saying here's some good-looking, attractive people using guns and their own cars to defend themselves and their friends against this alien threat. And I think we got some question about that coming up, about why Hunger Games is so popular. So anyway, that's basically it, Max. The morality of the thing is kind of a two-sided question. If you're talking about morality in the sense of no nudity and no profanity, I'm going to have some nudity and some profanity. And I'll produce a version which I'd be happy to distribute that has the nudity and the profanity cut out. But if you're trying to reach 15, 16-year-old boys, you got to have PG-13 level stuff. PG-13 is right where I want to be. So that's a decision I've pretty much made, and I think I'm going to stick to it. And I know I'm going to lose some people over that, and I feel bad about that. I genuinely do. I lose some sleep over that, but Some people are going to have a real problem with it, and I'm going to have to decide whether or not that's more important than reaching 16-year-old boys, 17-year-old boys. And in my mind, there's a lot of people doing what I'm doing now. And nobody's doing what we need to be doing, which is making those kind of movies so that kids come out of these movies, a date movie, and they're fired up and it's fun and they had a great time. It's an adventure. They didn't even realize they got a political message. That's how we got into this trouble. That's how we're going to get out. So moving on, Kevin Jordan says, in the next year, this country is going to have a very large, very public conversation about feminism and women as an oppressed class of people. We will have to publicly address myths like the wage gap and the glass ceiling with actual facts like professional choice and the glass floor. As a man in the public eye, how will you tackle rebuilding issues regarding the fairer sex without becoming shunned or labeled a misogynist? Remember, unlike being called a racist or the like, being labeled a hater of women is something I've never seen a political or social figure shake yet. First thing I will do to answer that question, Kevin, is if I could get a copy of that shirt that guy was wearing on the Comet probe, I'd do every Stratosphere launch from this point forward in that shirt. Of all of the things that upset me about the guy, the Comet scientist, being, just harassed by these harpies, the only thing in the whole thing that really actually kind of upset me is the fact that the guy cried about it. Honestly, that's the thing that kind of pisses me off, to be perfectly honest with you. Is like, really, dude, you're going to cry about this? No. Somebody tells me you can't wear a shirt, that's the shirt I'm going to wear for the rest of the day. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just get that shirt. And as Phil points out, there are like 400 back orders. I bet there'll be 400,000. I want to wear that shirt everywhere. And then when people say it's misogynist, I'm going to say, is it? Are you telling me that women are so delicate and dainty that the pictures of women in scantily clad women is more than they can handle? Do we need to keep them safely behind doors, protected by strong men so that they don't get so hysterical over things? Or are you actual adults who can manage to handle these kind of things? Just turn it right around, right in their face. It's like Winston Smith points out, Winston Smith Room 101, which, as I've said many times, is the best screen name on the internet, points out that he was forced to apologize by the ESA. If he was crying because he was forced to apologize, I suppose that's one thing. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have apologized. Because, again, it was like this dust up with the, when you see people with California tags coming into Texas, you need to open fire on them with, and don't mess around. If you have mortars, use mortars and rocket launchers. For me to apologize for that statement is to imply that I meant the statement seriously. It's an absolutely ridiculous assumption. I'm not gonna grant them the premise that I could possibly have been taken seriously. So to apologize for it, no, it was the first thing I said. No, I'm not apologizing. Of course I'm not apologizing. If anybody is trying to pretend that I meant that seriously, that's their problem. It's not mine. It's hyperbole to the fourth power. I don't have to apologize for that. I'm not going to. You can all fire me. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. There's that. Apologies, by the way, never do any good. They don't get the pack off your tail. They don't solve any problems. All they do is make you lose the other side. If somebody comes after you for some political statement, somebody pointed out here already, it's, as I said, when I was first writing, somebody said, hey, Bill, do you want to really be that opinionated? My girlfriend at the time, and I said, if I write an article about how delicious apple pie is, within 4 or 5 minutes, the cherry pie people are going to call me a Nazi. So if you do something that upsets the cherry pie people and then you apologize, you've gone and upset the apple pie people. So it doesn't do any good. I would just keep going in their face, really, because, Kevin, the honest fact of it is, this is the great. So it's such an obvious paradox that you need to call these feminists on it. I'm upset by this. I need a trigger warning. We should have trigger warnings because this upsets me and makes me hysterical, and you shouldn't say things like that because it makes me hysterical. The proper response to that is simply to say, maybe you shouldn't be outdoors. Maybe outdoors is too much for you. Maybe you should be in a parlor someplace, or a kitchen, or someplace where we don't have to worry about things that you might see or things that, because my understanding about the feminist movement was that women are just as capable of doing any kind of job and dealing with any kind of a catastrophe or emergency as men are. If you're telling me that women can't handle somebody wearing a T-shirt with a picture on it, and that makes them very, 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 very sad, and somebody else has to stop, that's not an adult, that's a child. That's what you do to children when children are upset. You say, shh, it's okay, don't worry. So which is it? And I don't care, frankly, which you choose. I don't care whether you think you're a superwoman, hear me roar, or whether you think that this whole thing is very, very damaging to delicate psyches. I don't care. I'm wearing the shirt I want to wear. And what if he had just said that, if that doctor had just said that, the scientist, instead of apologizing, if he had said, hey, I'm really sorry that you find it offensive. I didn't put it on to offend you. I put it on because I like it. And even if you do find it offensive, I don't care. My job in life is not to walk through this world making sure you're not offended. So if you find it offensive, bully for you. If he'd said that, then that would have been a rallying moment. I would have quit my job before I'd apologize for that. That's just me. There we go. And you just have to go right in its face, Kevin. You just have to call it out. You just have to say, are you too weak to handle criticism, yes or no? Because when you say things like this, you sound like you're about to get the vapors and faint dead away. Might get a little confused here because I thought the entire purpose of the feminist movement was that, no, you are grown-up adults and you can handle these things. If you can't, let us know. Give us a new memo and we'll treat you accordingly. Real women aren't bothered by this, by the way. Did I just say real women? I did. Yeah. Real women aren't bothered by this. They may not like the shirt. They may not want to wear the shirt. They may think the guy that's wearing the shirt is an ape. Okay. There's a lot of badness out there and a lot of creeps out there and a lot of other things out there. But if I had the shirt, I'd wear it everywhere. I really would. I really, truly would. I'd wear it everywhere because it's a badass shirt, by the way. It's a really cool shirt. Every time you give in to these people, every time you grant them their premise, you make them stronger. And every time you laugh in their face and say no, you make them weaker. And kind of the same thing with the, with the Muslims and the Muhammad cartoons, right? How dare you print images of Muhammad? We find it offensive. And the answer to that is, well, our purpose is not to offend you, but with that said, I don't care. See, we have a belief here in the West about the free exchange of ideas, and the consequence of the free exchange of ideas is that you can be offended by any number of things. The more you see that offends you, the less offended you become. You know who's not offended by shirts like that? SEAL team members. You know why? Because they have bigger things to worry about than being offended by a T-shirt or somebody's political orientation or their sexual orientation or anything. They got real things to worry about. So now this everybody's asking. For those of you who don't know, there's a couple questions in the comment. What shirt are we talking about? It's called Shirt Storm. Wink, wink. The Rosetta probe landed a small lander on a comet, and one of the guys at mission control for the probe was wearing a shirt with scantily clad women on it, which was designed by a woman, by the way. And he got all kinds of grief. The woman interviewing him said, I find your shirt very offensive. And he just, oh, I'm sorry. No, too bad. I find your question very offensive. I find your very presence very offensive. I find your attitude very offensive. Your attitude of perpetual victimhood and weakness is extremely offensive to me, and I really think you need to apologize to me because you've offended me by behaving like such a child, like such a baby. You're a grown woman. You're doing a job with a microphone and a camera in your hand, and you're telling me you're telling me you have to stop the interview and not do your job because this little print of cloth that I'm wearing is incapacitating you? What kind of a weakling are you? How did you get your job? Why don't we send a real adult to do your job in the future? I find you very, very offensive. And I think, young lady, you need to apologize to me right now. You need to apologize to me publicly right now for being so offensive to everything I hold dear. Right? No? Not going to apologize to me? Why not? I find your entire existence extremely offensive. Why don't you apologize to me? Oh, is it because you think you have a right to say what you want to say and lead your own life and live your own values? Imagine. Sang Lim, I don't believe I've actually heard that name before. Welcome, Sang. If you've been here a long time, I'm sorry I haven't seen you earlier, but I think that's the first question I've taken from you. He says, another CSR actual episode would be nice. It would be, and it will be coming. You need to know, you don't need to know, it'd be nice for you to know, what's really going on here since really for the last couple, 3-4 months when everything suddenly became very clear. Very clear. Honestly saying, prior to 3, 4, 5 months ago at the top end, I had thought that things like the movies were distracting me from the political work, and one movie I should be doing this movie or that movie and so on, and then everything just became very, very clear. Get The Office finished so that I can do the members-only content, which we'll be getting to in a minute. Get these movies in order and do them in the right order. And the order is going to be Big Bet Problems this year, 2015, Common Sense Resistance the following year, and Aurora the year after that. It's perfect. The budgets escalate, the scale escalates, everything escalates. It makes great sense. Nothing stopping us from doing the first one. So all that just to say, saying that another CSR actual episode would be nice, but CSR is next year's project. It's 2016's project. That doesn't mean we're not going to do any. We'll do some for sure, but it's the next year's project. Now, with that said, we're about to put for sale, just to have. I don't expect to sell many of them. I think we're charging like $5-6 top end. We're going to sell the CSR actual episode of the Stratosphere Lounge, just so you can have an NSA free copy that you may want to just hand out to people. It's just kind of fun because that initial episode actually really had a lot of really cool stuff in it in terms of just some neat ideas, and I hadn't read the questions in advance, hadn't given them any thought in advance, and it was great because it gave me a chance to develop some of these ideas on the fly. So we're just going to sell it just to do it. If you want a copy, needless to say, it's available, all of it in its entirety, at billwhittle.com, and I'll embed it in YouTube. But if you want a disc, you can have one. And part of that is to help us with the copyright stuff too. So all that stuff is grand, and we're looking forward to that. But we'll do another one for sure, and sooner rather than later. I would say probably by the end of January at the latest. If somebody keeps reminding me, I'm happy to do them. It was really fun. And we'll get off of that beautiful set. We'll do it in the corner. We'll turn all the lights out. Although I have to tell you, turning the lights out is not a big deal. It's not easy in here because when you turn the dimmers down on these overhead lights, you get nothing but glowing frames. And that has given me another idea. I don't think I've ever gotten out of the chair twice. I know I've gotten out of the chair once or twice before. I might have gotten out of the chair twice, but I'm pretty sure I've never gotten out of the chair 3 times, but I'm going to. And the reason I'm going to is because I'm actually curious now to see how dark I can get it in here without turning off the LEDs. So if you'll hang on just 1 second, 2 quick trips to the incandescent dimmers. Yes, they're incandescent lights. They're burning filaments of tungsten, and they are fantastic. So let's see how dark we can get it, and we'll just have the lights of the eerie LED backlights. Hang on. Wish Count Floyd were here. Ooh, pretty scary, pretty scary. And we may need to bring up a little brightness a little bit, or down or up. Yeah, so that's what it looks like in the dark. Yes, as a matter of fact, Sarge 56, they are contraband light bulbs. They are, in fact, incandescent light bulbs. And yeah, well, I'll turn some of those incandescent. I'll turn the LEDs off too. We'll do it in a corner. It's a great idea, honestly. Honestly saying, it's a really great idea. So we'll definitely do that. So that's coming. And just remind me, because I love the theme shows. Caleb Belchak is back. He says, what makes a movie franchise like The Hunger Games so popular, and what do we do to jump on that movement to get the conservative message to the culture? Common Sense Resistance of the 3 is the most like Hunger Games. And Big Bad Problems has some elements of them. I don't remember who said it. I saw it in the internet, on the internet. So I can't remember where I saw it. It just came and went. But somebody was talking about Walking Dead. And I didn't get this quite right, but it's pretty close to this, I think. This guy's quote was, "When civilization no longer has any room for adventure, then the only adventure is the destruction of civilization." I thought that's really, really profound. All of these post-apocalyptic things, Divergent and Maze Runner and Hunger Games and, Walking Dead are games, are shows that take place in a post-apocalyptic future where something terrible has happened. And Game of Thrones is which I'm not much of a fan of personally, but only because I compare it to Lord of the Rings stuff. But Game of Thrones is also in a very pre-apocalyptic past. And what's going on here? I think, is that society has become so safe, that there's no challenge. There's no room to measure ourselves. I think young men especially, some women certainly too, but young men especially watch something like Walking Dead and ask themselves, could I do it? Could I do it? Would I be able to make it? Would I be able to survive? Do I have the guts, the strength? Am I fast enough? Am I ruthless enough? These are kind of primal questions for men. And I think also that also a fair amount of women look at Hunger Games and start asking themselves the same question. If I had to compete in a world against men, could I do it? Are there strategies or weapons that I could use as a woman that would allow me to stay alive, defend myself? These are questions of societal boredom and society on decline. The iron pill, I'm sorry. I think I got that wrong. I think I said Thelron Phil before. Sorry about that, the iron pill. Just wrote a quick question, said, could that explain the influx of Western fighters to ISIS? I think categorically that is precisely it. Precisely it. It's exactly why ISIS fighters leave Great Britain. Because young men want to fight. They want to fight. And they'll look for a chance to fight. And if in England, for example, you're a young man, especially if you're a young man of Middle Eastern descent, and you've got two alternatives, and one alternative is a society that's got a death wish and basically says, we don't even have a right to our own culture, just come and take everything you want. Be nice to us, please don't hurt us, and we'll give you everything we can. And the other culture says, no, we're going to take over the world, and we're the future, and we're going to fight and die for a cause. It's not hard to figure out why people join these things. The rise of ISIS is not due to a sudden extra malignancy on the part of Islam. I mean, that Islam has always been a warrior religion about conquest and slavery. That's what the Quran is. It's an instruction book for what you do with your captives and how to set up false truces. It's a war manual. But why people are drawn to it is because there's nothing in opposition to it. There's no Western crusade. Now, that's the only word I can think of. There's no Western crusade. There's nobody in the West who says, no, our society is in fact far superior and we're ready to fight and die for it. There are people that do that. They're in the U.S. military, most of them. And they go over there, and when they do engage these guys, they kick some serious butt. Europe is so much further gone than we are that you don't even realize that that their soldiers don't get the same respect that we get. That's kind of shocking, really. But I've heard from several UK soldiers come to America and they see you get to board the plane first, or thanks for our troops, or welcome home, this kind of thing. It's shocking to them that we still respect our warriors here. It's a sign of a healthy society, or somewhat healthy society anyway. Even the Europeans don't get that. So all of this stuff is related, and what it really comes down to is, since there are no real wolves at the door, and since we're extremely well evolved to either run from or fight foes and threats, I think the popularity of shows and movies like this is because it shows us how modern Western, really modern American people would do in a world with predators. It's really just that simple, actually. It's not even a political enemy. The great thing about The Walking Dead is they're predators. And people have, and I'm one of these people, by the way, and people have a kind of aversion to hurting animals. Even animals are coming after you, like wolves. I mean, I'd shoot a wolf if I had to, Needless to say, if a wolf was coming after me or people I cared about, I'd shoot a wolf if I had to. I'd shoot it in a heartbeat, but I wouldn't enjoy it. It wouldn't be, yeah. I mean, wolves are beautiful creatures, and I think the reason that The Walking Dead is so popular, especially, is because nobody feels bad about shooting a zombie. He's already dead. The great thing about a zombie is he's trying to kill you, and in a horrible way. He's actually trying to eat you. And when you get down to the bare brass tack essentials of zombieism, he's trying to eat your brain. So in other words, he's trying to eat what makes you human. He's trying to eat your humanity. And you can blow zombies away with shotguns at point-blank range, and there's nobody going to go, oh, that's really unfair and uncool. It's like, no, he's already dead anyway. It's a perfect villain, really. He's a perfect villain, a zombie, if you just want to kill him. He's damn near as good as a Nazi. So what Walking Dead does, and to a somewhat lesser degree, but the same dynamic with Hunger Games and Divergent and all the rest of the stuff, is they show modern people a situation where they would have predators and life and death conflict. And the great thing about these movies is that they don't really show us what future people would be doing in those situations. They really show us what we would be forced to do in those situations. That's a great premise of The Walking Dead, right? I mean, the guy's in the hospital for surgery, wakes up, and next thing you know, he's starving to death, and he's been in a medical coma or something for a couple, 3 or 4 or 5 days, 8 days, whatever the number is. He wakes up and, what? Hello? That's how we would imagine ourselves, we want to wake up in that world and see how we do. So, yeah, there you go. I think that's really it. And I think that Big Bad Problems has that going for it. That same dynamic. And that's why I think it's going to be very popular. In fact, I've never really given it quite this much thought before on quite this exact point. But when you get right down to it, Big Bad Problems is about an American brothers, two kids in America, an older brother and a younger brother, who have to team up with other Americans who've also encountered this threat, and they themselves take on the responsibility of tracking down these things and killing them, not just defending themselves because these encounters are very unlikely. They decide, well, we don't want other people to go through what we went through, so we're going to go find these things, we're going to track them down and kill them. That is a threat. That is a movie about how modern American people would deal with the idea of predators in the ecosystem, because these big bats are predators. And the thing, like I said, I never really quite thought it through along these exact lines before, but it's really kind of noble, isn't it, really, when you get right down to it? It's what you want to do, isn't it? You'd want to say to yourself, okay, this kind of a, hey, I almost want to show without mentioning it, and I'm going to. It's a certain letter kind of characteristic, isn't it, to go out there and remove the threat rather than just run from the threat. In other words, there's predators in the ecosystem, so instead of us just running and hiding, let's not only not run and hide, let's go find out where they are and kill them so that the other letter people don't have to worry. It's kind of cool, and that's exactly what they do in Big Bad Problems. So I think it's right on point in terms of the dynamics of the culture. That makes me happy. Speaking of which, Jacob Belchick says, Big Bat Problems, and Doug Malcolm also says, I've got a Big Bat problem. What's the solution, Bill? And has there been any transmissions from CSR Actual or any wrench leaders about the status of the resistance? So these are just kind of, I'll just kind of wrap up these two movie things with this. As I said, we'll do Big Bad Problems first, and I think this will happen pretty quickly once we get started in the year. We're going to start sending out content in terms of making the movies. And one of the first things will be a walkthrough of the finale location for Big Bad Problems. And this will mean something to some of you and probably not much to the rest of you, because I didn't know about it until I'd had this story pretty well worked out. But when you get a location that's absolutely perfect, I mean really perfect location or perfect prop, it becomes a character in the movie. And sometimes it becomes such a great character in the movie that they name the movie after it. Titanic is named after a prop, and Enterprise is named after a prop, and Aurora is named after a prop, basically. But the end of Big Bad Problems, the final third, the third act of the movie, takes place in a place that's very strange called the Salton Sea. And there's a little town on the edge of the Salton Sea called Bombay Beach. And that's where it's going to happen, is in Bombay Beach. Now, Salton Sea was artificially created when they stopped up, I guess it was the Colorado River, and created a very large body of water inland, just sort of, southeast of Palm Springs out in the desert. And when they first created the Salton Sea, they thought it was going to be like Lake Mead or something, and people bought motorboats down there, and it was going to be kind of like this beach resort for Palm Springs and in the general area. And they made it look like Vegas. Late 50s, early 60s, it looked like America at the kind of height of its powers. But the Salton Sea is an ecological catastrophe. And almost immediately, very shortly after people had put these pieces of Americana in the late 50s, early 60s down, the iconic signs that James Lilacs always talks about in the all-American motels and this kind of thing, what happened was the Salton Sea started to get into some of its environmental instabilities, and a giant die-off occurred. And so all of a sudden there's thousands, if not millions, of dead fish floating on the surface of the Salton Sea and washing ashore. And it got very, 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 very salty. And then the water level receded, and it got even saltier, and then the water level came up and flooded again, and then it went down again. And so what happens when you look at the architecture of the Salton Sea at Bombay Beach, which is a tiny little town, is you have, this is fantastic. Try to imagine the third act of this movie taking place in Las Vegas of the 1960s, early 1960s, that is being corroded by acid, because that's what the Salton Sea and Bombay Beach look like. You would see like these great old Airstream trailers, the streamlined metallic aluminum trailers, but it's like somebody sprinkled acid on them. They're literally corroding away into the toxic sands, scattered upon which are nothing but fish bones and dead rat carcasses. It's just it's like a kill zone. It's horrid. It's absolutely horrible. And when I saw stills of the Salton Sea and Bombay Beach, I just said, oh man. There's a movie that I think you can run on iTunes, or maybe it's Netflix. There's a movie called Bombay Beach. It's a documentary about people who still lived down there several years ago. Probably done in the early 2000s, mid-2000s, 2005, 7, somewhere in there, not too long ago. And already Bombay Beach has passed its sort of peak picturesqueness. In other words, if I'd been down there shooting 10, 20 years ago, it would have been more striking, because most of the stuff has actually fallen to pieces now. That Gulfstream Airstream trailer is literally just a lump now. It was better before. But using it as a guideline, we can do an awful lot with digital stuff. It's really incredible what we can do with digital stuff. So try to imagine Holiday Inn signs that are literally corroding into the ground, and trailers and houses and double wides and people making emergency barricades, because this is where the Bats' home mothership landed, and this is where they own it. And the people are terrified. The native humans, kind of like the people on Skull Island in the Kong remake, are just kind of these degraded, desperate animals running from these bats, living in perpetual terror. And into this environment comes our little convoy, our little militia of the survivors, 10 or 12 American citizens armed with their own weapons, fighting their own government to go and kill these things. It's pretty cool. So anyway, I say all of that just to say that one of the first things that we'll probably do is a video tour of Bombay Beach, which I think will probably happen in January. My friend Fritz and I is going to be producing the movie. Are going to grab a couple of our brand new cameras, and we're going to head down to Salton Sea, probably a 3 or 4 hour drive from where I live. And we'll shoot a lot of location video, and I'll be trouncing around through there, and I'll say this would be a cool place, would be a great place, and put it out there, and it'll be the first of the ongoing making of kind of things. So we're going to start getting that stuff out the door this year, early this year, in the spring. Watch this. Yep. 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 Just because I can. So we got that. And as we start to do some other development, we'll do some more episodes of Common Sense Resistance, and start to put the network in place in 2015. Start to get the CSR network in place so that when we get the movie out and start working on that in 2016, there'll be something that works with it in the real world. And I think I'm jumping ahead a little bit. So here's the plan. As I said, 2015 is the year of big bad problems. Nothing really goes along with big bad problems. It's an inexpensive movie to do. It's written to take place in a little house in Arizona, and then on the road, and out in the desert and out in locations. So it's relatively inexpensive. 2016 is the world of the Common Sense Resistance movie, and by that time I'd like to have a real Common Sense Resistance out in the real world. And then the following year will be the year of Aurora, which is a private mission to Jupiter. And that would be when we launch the Free Frontier, which is the private space program that I've talked about many times on the show. I'm not going to get into right now. So I get the sense, I get a sense it's like movie 1 and then movie 2 with the real world, coefficient, and then movie 3 with the real world coefficient, and they all work together, and the master plan is starting to get very clear. So there we go. Moving on, Max Wild again says, hey, can you give us more behind the scenes aspect of your work at PJTV and Truth Revolt? Scott Ott's Trifecta Extra gives us something, but I'd like to see more stuff from your perspective. My friend Scott Ott on Trifecta does something for members only, unfortunately, at PJTV called Trifecta Extra. We shoot Trifecta in a studio. It's funny because Dave Big Butte, by the way, says he's volunteering to be a Big Bat Problems red shirt. Red shirts are really important, Dave. You got to show people how the monsters work, so I may take you up on that. But PJTV we shoot in a studio, and it's weird because I saw Scott in the flesh in Texas a couple of months ago, and it was like I hadn't seen him in person in years, but I feel like I see him every week. So we go into the studio at PJTV. They turn on the remote feeds for Scott and Steve. I sit in the studio, and we just talk to each other in between takes, and we laugh and we joke. And Scott's recorded all that, and he's putting it up as members only stuff on PJTV. We did the Shatner firewall thing, which was a little bit of the behind-the-scenes stuff at over at Declaration Entertainment's old studio where we shoot Firewall. And this goes to a question that may be coming up. We talked about some of the new shows, and the only one that wasn't really getting a whole lot of enthusiasm was this Bill Me idea of kind of a one-to-one sort of webcam-y kind of thing. So I'll talk about the other shows in a minute. But I think we're probably going to let that idea go based on a lack of enthusiasm. And in its place is members-only content here. I've talked to Jeremy and some other people over at Truth Revolt, and I'm thinking about doing something called Behind the Firewall. And that would be members-only content at BillWhittle.com, where I would shoot the firewall, and when I'm finished, I would talk about it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that kind of thing. I would basically just say, this one was near and dear to my heart, being about the Spaceship One crash, and just kind of give some insight, some kind of behind-the-scenes stuff, because this Stratosphere Lounge episode is dedicated to what we can expect to see coming up in year 2, what we want to see. But what it really comes down to is year 2 has got to be the year of more members-only content, because I still have not ever really aggressively gone out and tried to sell memberships, and I'm going to need to do that in order to get some of this film development money going, and I really don't feel like I can do that until I get this members-only content stuff on the web. We couldn't get the members-only content stuff done until The Office was finished, and you can see The Office is darn near finished, so probably next week will be the first week we actually get that done. I'll come to that in a minute. So I think I'll try to do Behind the Firewall. Technically speaking, since you asked, Max, PJTV owns everything I do at PJTV, the videos. I own those scripts to the Afterburners. Truth Revolt owns the Firewall brand for as long as I'm doing them at Truth Revolt. And I have to get their permission to do the Behind the Firewall thing. I don't think that'll be a problem. There's one new thing, by the way, and I'm glad somebody mentioned it, because I hadn't even thought to write it down. I do have one problem, and that is that I don't own either of these two brands that I use for my... I'm sorry about the scratchy nose. I don't own either of the two brands that I'm currently doing my commentary on. I don't own Firewall, and I don't own Afterburner. But the video for the Year 2 membership is going to be answering tough liberal questions. We did 4 Stratosphere Lounges on that. I'm going to boil those down and make them into 12 or 13 little 4 or 5 minute segments and get it really kind of, concise. But that leaves me with a problem, and then how do I actually present them? So instead of it being kind of the rambling, 20-minute answer or 30-minute answer, it'll be a 4-minute answer. I'll do a cut, and I'll put it in a prompter, and I'll read it. And all that just to say that I'm actually going to launch a new brand, I think, called Notes from the Stratosphere. And it'll be STRATOS and then SPHERE, 2 different words. There's just a few of you out there who go back to the eject days and remember the world of Ejectio, which was kind of this online city we were going to try and build, kind of patterned a little bit after Second Life. It was going to be an online university and a Wikipedia and place to hang out, all kinds of cool things. Put a lot of work into it, never really took off, but there were a lot of computer renderings I did of a mountaintop and very, very tall structures on mountaintops so that they're way up high in the air. And what we're going to do for our year 2 members is I think I'm going to do it as Tales from the Stratosphere. So there's going to be basically a giant structure that is, a mile or 2 high on top of a mountain. And the top's kind of a dome. And you start off by flying into the dome and you see the clouds. And we're going to change the clouds. So one day it'll be sunset and one night it'll be night with the moon out. One will be puffy cumulus clouds and someday it'll be clear with high stratus, that kind of thing. And you'll push into this building, which will be the Stratosphere. And inside the Stratosphere is a geodesic dome with a little kind of like a tongue and a podium. And I'm just going to come out like Emperor Palpatine or something. I'm not going to look like Emperor Palpatine, but I'm going to just be up there in the air, delivering things that way so that, it gives us a different take. It's going to look like it's coming down from, the future and from the sky. And here's your message for today. And I think that'll actually work out pretty well. It'll allow me to do more more philosophical stuff, I think, from the Stratosphere thing, and keep kind of the passionate, angry kind of, how dare these traitors and rodeo clowns continue, and keep that on the firewall side. And then Afterburner, I'm doing what comes up that particular news week. So I have to do a little bit of rendering and get it done, but then it's just more green screen work. And it's interesting too, because I like these kind of contrasts. Firewall is color space wise, image wise, it's black and orange and burning and hot and kind of intense. And I'm standing in the lake of fire. I'm kind of in hell. I actually had a serious worry about that when I first put the graphics package together for this Firewall Mark II. It's like that looks like I'm standing in hell. Well, I am standing in hell. And I also made a joke at the panel on the restoration weekend with Jeremy and Ben Shapiro and Andrew Clavin. And I said, one of the reasons these things cost so much money is because Andrew and Ben do their videos in front of a green screen, but I have an actual lake of fire that I do the videos in front of, and I have to be sure to duck in time when the fire explosion comes out, and I got to make sure I get out of the way when it's tricky. You get that thing timed just right. So the nice thing about Notes from the Stratosphere, it will be the exact opposite of that look, and I think it'll take an opposite kind of a tone. Where the background in Firewall is black with flames, this will be kind of light blue with clouds. And the clouds will just be blowing past the geodesic dome, and everything will be very kind of high-tech, kind of what you imagine the 21st century to be like, 22nd century to be like, kind of just very clean and kind of, kind of that look that, what was that Tom Cruise movie? Not Edge of Tomorrow, which I thought was very good. The one before that was actually pretty good too. Just a real clean kind of a, high tech kind of look, and it'll be a nice contrast. So we'll be seeing that coming as soon as I can get the regular door-to-door members-only content out. So Max, other than that, behind-the-scenes content of what I'm doing now, there's probably not going to be too much behind-the-scenes stuff, but there is going to be a great deal of behind-the-scenes stuff on the movies, and that's going to be starting in spring. So looking forward to that. Somebody just asked about Speakeasy in the comments thing. I want to make sure that... Yes, I do have a Speakeasy question coming right up, so hang in there. Where are we next? Zechariah Tiemens, one of the Tiemens brothers at long last. It's been months since, or weeks anyway, since the name Tiemens has been mentioned in these August halls. Bill Whittle should hire some more employees to take some of his workload. It would be terrible to see him lose consciousness due to exhaustion in the middle of a Stratosphere lounge. Well, maybe I could do the fainting joke here, but I'm too tired. I actually got a little rest. I feel rested, and got a haircut. Compared to the last one, I look like a frickin' sheep that needed to be sheared. Here's the thing, Zechariah. Right now, this company consists of me and Astro Girl Desiree Gabrielle, who is superb. She just is our membership director and operations director, and she's put out all the fires that we had from the first year, and keeps me from bumping into the furniture. She's terrific. Just terrific. I love that woman. She's absolutely fantastic. And she's got her hands full running the mechanics of the business end and making sure I'm on the right airplane and all that other stuff. Sooner or later, and probably sooner, I am going to need somebody to help with some of the editing, because these firewalls, even now, still take, they're 8 hours, 12 hours, something like that to produce. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we got the Space Turbine, the new Mac Pro. We've been using the old Mac Pro since we started doing firewalls in 2010. I might have mentioned this on the lost episode that we didn't hit the record button on. Prior to getting the new computer here, it took, to do a 7-minute firewall, it took about an hour and 45 minutes to output that file. Render it and output it to a 1080 movie file. Hour and 40 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. And typically I wouldn't get finished until, 12 at night, 1 in the morning, and then I'd hit the, render button. And so that meant I wouldn't even have a look at it until 2:33 in the morning. So we spent a fair amount of money on this new computer, and I remember thinking, if this thing could get that 6-minute video down from 140 to under an hour, that's a big improvement. And if we could get it down to 50 minutes or about half the time, I'd be over the moon. So we did the first one, and I sent it to the new computer. Same length as the previous one, would have taken about an hour and 40 minutes. The new computer did it in 6.5 minutes. It did it in slightly faster than real time. I've bought a lot of gear in my life, and I've been mostly disappointed, but that blew my mind. And it was just like, done. And it's like, I might have to, there's something else, I have to render the whole thing again? Yeah, it's another 6 minutes. Bam. Hoy. It's just spectacular, magnificent. So that saved a lot of time, Zechariah. But the fact is, I'm going to need an editor in here to do some of this stuff. And I'm very, very persnickety about this. The hardest part of these videos by a country mile of the firewalls is picking the pictures. And I have to be careful about the pictures because of fair use. And, I never use anything that's got any kind of watermark or copyright on it. And it's, it's a delicate thing to do. But the actual assembly of the show still takes 4 or 5 hours. And picking the pictures takes another 5. I could easily find somebody who could do the assembly. I just I'd lay the pictures in. But the problem is when I hand off selection of the pictures to other people, I never particularly like the ones they get. I'm very, very, very particular about the background images in the firewall, and that takes a fair amount of my time. It takes half a day sometimes. So the answer is yes, we can, and Des can do some of this too on the back computer. Des is going to be doing the post for the foreseeable future on the upcoming shows, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So yes, we will be seeing somebody else here, but we got to start getting some revenues up first. Spend a lot of money on this office, and we need to get those bank accounts back up a little bit. Let's see. I just want to make sure it's not coming up here. Okay. So let's talk about, we're going to start next week. We've been threatening to do it for 2 months, and once again, it's bill time. I'm sorry, the office just took forever. Starting next week, we're going to be doing time over target. That's members-only content. I've got the graphics for it. I've got a graphic package for it, and basically, I'm going to be sitting in front of smart bomb footage of bombs on the way down, and I'm going to read the question, and the question will appear on the screen, and the second we cut to picture, a countdown clock in the corner goes to 3 minutes, and when it gets to 0, as the 3 minutes go by, we're cutting from different angles and getting closer and closer and closer, and then the last couple seconds, like, and then at 3 minutes, when that counter goes to 0, the picture goes to static, whether I'm finished or not. We did a Stratosphere Lounge test where we did, I think, like 12 questions, and I said, I've got to answer these in 3 minutes, and I started the timer on the iPad, and I got every one of the 12 down within a second. I think one of them I might have gone over by half a second, but all the rest were wrapping up at 2 seconds, 1 second. I'm really amazed, actually. It was really kind of astonishing to be able to put a button on them. So that'll be 5 days a week, and we'll take members' suggestions, and that'll be members-only content. Once a week, we will put together best of time over target, and that'll go out on Facebook and YouTube so that you'll be able to see the highlights of the previous week. And I think that's probably the best compromise I can make between giving paying members, something of value for their membership and still trying to keep access up. So Time Over Target will be the daily show. That's going to be the main source of new stuff. And then the other one that I did get a question about, so I'll come down to that question right now. Kyle Allen Tyndall. I send a membership newsletter out and talked about some of these things that are coming up. Kyle asks this question: can you clarify one thing for us concerning your new speakeasy events? In the description of your first post on the subject, you say only the cameras are rolling for 1 10 to 15 minute segment per week. Do you mean to say that only people that are attending the event and the people that are watching it live will have a chance to see the whole show, and that the 10 to 15 minute segment is for the members? Or is that segment for the non-members, and us paying customers will have a chance to watch the whole thing at our leisure and when we have an opportunity? I very much hope it's the latter. Thank you, Kyle. Here's how Speakeasy is going to work mechanically. We found an amazing studio in North Hollywood. A theater, rather. Main stage theater is 400 seats. It's spectacular. They've got a second stage, which is thrust theater, 270-degree thing where and brand new seats, absolutely gorgeous, 100-seat theater. Great thing about this theater is the outside's got one of those old, kind of chrome ticket booths that sit outside the theater on the sidewalk, that kind of thing. So we may do one before we get to that because we can't get to that in January, and I want to do one in November. Here's how Speakeasy will work. First of all, Speakeasy will be free to members only, free to Billwiddle.com members. Again, we have to do something to provide some value for that paying membership. So members will be able to come and bring their guests, and they'll get in for free, and they'll get the first set of invitations. Then, once the members have had a chance to RSVP and get in for free, then we'll push it out to Stratosphere Lounge people, then the Facebook page, and then finally just, I don't think we have any trouble at all getting 99 seats filled. And if we're turning people away, we'll move to a bigger space. But the way the show will work is we will go in there once a month or maybe once every 2 months in the beginning, and we will shoot for 2 hours. So there'll be a musical act in the beginning and just kind of intro music and a little bar with a little, light refreshment out there. And you'll come into this great, gorgeous theater, and you'll go to the second stage and you'll take your seats. And there'll be music playing, and then we'll start, and I'll come out and I'll introduce 3 guests. So it'll be me and 3 guests, and the set's going to be just a black box set with a couple of comfortable couches on it. And I've said time and time again that what I'm really trying to do with Speakeasy is I'm trying to give people a sense of how we talk about politics to each other. So if this thing is very formal and very serious, then I've failed miserably. It's got to be real, kind of towel snappy kind of thing. And fortunately, we just did a 4-person panel on the Horowitz Restoration Weekend with Ben Shapiro, Clavin, me, and Jeremy Boring. And it was fully hilarious. I mean, it was just everything I wanted Speakeasy to be. It's just hilarious. It was about an hour. Took some questions there, too. So the way Speakeasy works is there's going to be an hour first act, and during that first act, I'll come out, introduce everybody, and then we will put a microphone in the house, and we will hand it to a member, and they can ask a question which we will not have seen before. And maybe it'll be a liberal who snuck in, who's got a tough question for us conservatives to answer. But basically, I don't want to see them in advance. And that member's going to ask a question, and then the 4 of us will bat it around and try to have as much fun with it and try to make it as... I really want a lot of interactive, talking over each other kind of thing. I really want to be able to say, Drew, are you going to trot this corpse out again? Are you actually going to try and... this kind of thing. Really just be jumping on each other's lines, and there are no lines, so we're just going to want to keep it moving and fun and irreverent, and I think we all ought to get extremely liquored up. Personally, I think that'd really be great. So we'll take 4 questions, and each one will be 12 to 15 minutes. So we'll go through the audience, and one member will get a question, 2, 3, 4. That'll be the first hour. We'll break for an intermission. We'll do a 20-minute intermission. You can get up, have a beer, some wine or something, some light refreshments. We come back. We do a second act of an hour. We do another 4 questions, and then after the show's over, the 4 of us hang out in the lobby and get to meet all of you people face to face and shake some hands and talk about whatever you want to for a little bit anyway while we're clearing out of the theater. So that's what the shoot day will look like. 2 hours of hilarity at nighttime in North Hollywood, and really, really fun. I think really, really, really fun. What happens then is each one of those questions gets boiled down to to 12-minute segments, and we release one a week for either 4 weeks or 8 weeks, depending on how fast we can turn this crank around. My preference would be as soon as possible to do one a month, so that we get 8 segments a month, and once a week there's a members-only segment, and once a week there's also a free-to-everybody segment as a means to draw people to membership. So if you're in the house, you see the whole thing. And if you're not in the house, you should be able to see, if you're a member, you see all of it. It's just one segment question, 12-minute segment per week. And hopefully it'll get up to 2 a week. And that's really going to be a blast. Now, somebody pointed out to me, my producer friend Fritz Bronner said, if you did a costume break or something, certainly at the act break, if you changed costumes, you could turn this into an actual TV show. if you're shooting it on HD, it would actually work out pretty well for actual honest-to-God television. And by happy coincidence, prior to walking into this strange life, and while I was writing Eject, I was an editor for a show called Sunday Morning Shootout on AMC. We did 180 episodes, and that's exactly what we did. We went in and taped people, and we do, I'd get a 45-minute interview with one person, a 20-minute interview with somebody else, a 15-minute interview with somebody else, and I had to make a show that was 23 minutes and 30 seconds long. And I know how to cut conversations. I know how to make them make sense, and pull them up and tighten them up, and then do it. And a couple people said, and then you go on the road. I'd love to go on the road. I think we could put together a tour, bring the camera packages with us, go around the country, and do big houses, hundreds of seats houses, or thousands even. And then we just, take kind of the Speakeasy All-Stars out on the road, and we show up in, in Chicago or Indianapolis, and we rent a, 2,000-seat theater, and hopefully all of you can come, and we go out on the road, and we just do it. That'd be fun. I really think that'd be a lot of fun. I think it's going to work. But the local speakeasies are definitely going to happen, and I want to shoot one in November, December at the latest. Looks like we can get into that new theater in January. So that's the second of the new members-only programs that we're definitely doing here, and we've got people out there trying to secure the space, so we're good to go there. Let's see here. Just a couple to go. Joshua Lazoya says, "Dear Mr. Whittle," hello, Mr. Lazoya. "To be honest, I am pleased with what I've seen so far. That makes my day, Joshua, because I worry about this quite a lot. That being said, more shows with guests such as Alfonso Rachel and Andrew Clavin would be interesting, perhaps also book and movie reviews and thoughts." We did, back in the days of Declaration Entertainment, we did a movie review show called Take a Movie to Work, which I thought was really fun and kind of cool, but incredibly labor-intensive to get those backgrounds done. Really labor-intensive. I don't want Stratosphere Lounge to mutate too much unless it does. Ultimately, if I were to do an actual talk show on TV, I would do the Stratosphere Lounge like the early Tonight Show in the early 1960s. That'd be my goal. But for the time being, it's pretty much going to be me and the webcam. But we have 2 seats over there because I do want to bring guests on. We have fun with the guests, I think. And I think every 4th show, something like that. It'd be really fun to do a Stratosphere Lounge with, Zoe or Clavin or Jeremy or Ben Shapiro, whoever. And they really turn into a lot of fun. So I think we can count on that. I bought that extra chair for a reason. That's kind of badass looking over there too, isn't it, by the way? If you'll pardon the expression. That's really just incredible. So yeah, so I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that. And that's actually very easy for us to do. So I would expect to see some guests on the Stratosphere Lounge in the very near future. And I like bringing other people in too, Joshua, and I'm glad to hear that you're pleased because we're working really hard and we're a little understaffed here. So there we go. Moving on, CT Rex, clever name. Are there any plans to create some ways for Strata Loungers to connect with each other for help and or skill sharing, like maybe a chat room on the webpage or something like that? A chat room on the webpage is an excellent idea. And I just want to, at this point, I'm not going to mention the full name, but I will if I get permission next time. A friend of ours named Ian is a terrific guy and really a great friend of this organization, a great friend of mine, and got us all into Comic-Con, and it was a tremendous deal for a lot of us. We really had a great time. And we're talking about doing an app, a Stratosphere Lounge app or a BillWhittle.com app, and an app I think would allow us to be able to connect people in a way that I'm not completely entirely sure of yet, but he is. And that's something I think we're going to have the resources for early in 2015. I think ideally what I'd like to do, and this is one of the main reasons that made the move for live stream. We still got these little live stream boxes here, one of which is on a tripod. Whoops! The other one has just been smashed by my casual incompetence. Hang on one second. I never will get used to this gravity on this planet. So here's a little live stream box, and this basically turns any HD cam into its own little transmitter and streams it live. So one of the things that we're looking forward to do with the app We talked with Ian about this, and that is make the app be able to stream Stratosphere Lounge shows, be able to stream a lot of other content, as well as being kind of a fast track to all the afterburners and firewalls, and just go right there and get them. So we're looking forward to doing that, and I think kind of the social media connectivity aspect of the app is something I've been really looking forward to. We have not by any means shelved this idea of a Stratacon. I think a convention in town would be fantastic fun, really fun, and not an insurmountable job either. I just am finally, slowly and painfully slowly, in many cases, getting to the point where I'm able to understand, advanced adult concepts like priorities. So my top priority now, after shoveling the coal that I have to shovel every week in terms of afterburners and trifectas and firewalls, is get this time over target and members only content out. That's the next thing. And we've been hanging on this office for 2.5 months more than we thought we would take. And it's been breaking my heart. It's really been painful for me. It's been breaking my heart to have to cancel Stratosphere Lounge 3 times in a row. I really, really hated it. But as you can see, we're pretty much there. So, and this studio is going to pay off. So time over target has to happen fast. We'll get that out there, start shooting those next week, and get them on the air on the website for members only. Speakeasy will be dependent on whether we can get. I think probably what we'll do with Speakeasy, as I said earlier, that fantastic, really, really gorgeous cinematic theater doesn't become available until January. But I suspect what we'll do is we'll rent another theater and do a Speakeasy show that is kind of a dress rehearsal. It won't be in the final space, but give us a chance to kind of thrash things out and get the camera crews together and all that stuff. And kind of a dress rehearsal one. I feel very confident that's going to happen in early December, because we need to get this members only content up so we can sell memberships, and then we can use that money to develop movies, and it all makes sense. I just wish I had more people working for me. I wish I had a little bit bigger budget, but see, this is all part of the kind of a loop too. It's I don't want to call it a trap, because I'm as happy as I've ever been, I think. But basically the short problem is I have to do it. I'm working like a dog already. I have to do more work to get the members only content up, and then I have to do more work than that to get the movie started. But if I can do that, then the members only content and the increased memberships generate enough revenue to hire additional people. So it's really kind of a reef that I have to get over. I just have to run faster in the hamster wheel for a while, and then we can start to see the results of that in terms of revenues, and the revenues means we can hire some more people, and that takes my workload off. I can get some of the stuff off my plate. So that's the plan. And if you think I'm suffering over it, you've got it completely backwards. I've never been quite so happy. I've never been quite so clear. And I spoke about this at the Restoration Weekend, about this idea between hopes and plans. And I'm going to develop this idea going forward too. It's something I think maybe we'll talk about next week in the first of the version 2, year 2 Stratosphere Lounges. So just wrapping up, yeah, hopefully, a chat room on the webpage is something we can do pretty quickly. A pretty simple plug-in. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a note for the fabulous Desiree Gabriel, because when I write things down and hand them to her, things get done. Chat room on webpage, that'd be kind of fun. Right now at billwhittle.com, it'd be really fun. So, yeah, because the Stratosphere Lounge, is great. Right now we have, at this exact instant, we have 198 people watching, but by the time it gets to YouTube, it's several thousand. And, yeah, people need to, we need to hang out together. If the communists and the weenies can hang out together, I don't know why we can't. Doesn't seem like it's a bad idea. And I love doing the live shows on the road. I don't like the travel at all. It really stresses me to be out of town, given the amount of work I do. But the best part of it is getting a chance to meet people and shake hands and talk to real people and just see how awesome they are and how cool they are and how smart they are. So, yeah, I think that's a grand idea. Just a few more questions to go. Kenny Dragone says, where has the virtual president gone? And a couple of other questions about that. I'm glad you asked that, actually. The virtual presidency was what I thought a terrific idea that just didn't work. And it didn't fail in terms of the execution, because I think the virtual presidency videos are absolutely the best work I've ever done. Certainly the best looking work I've ever done. And in terms of an encapsulated piece, they're terrific. And also the entire set is a civics lesson. It's fantastic. I like it much better than I like What We Believe, and I like What We Believe quite a lot. And I'm going to make another note here. And I can't explain this. I really don't. I don't know why. But once we posted them on YouTube, the virtual presidency videos did about a third of the worst videos that I was doing before. If I was seeing, 60,000 would be disappointing to me, and I'd put these virtual presidency, they get 16,000, 12,000, 20,000. Nobody was watching them. Nobody was watching them. I suspect it's because they came out after the Romney election. They came out as a result of the speech I gave after the Romney election. And I think after Obama had been reelected, it just didn't. It was almost in some levels almost too painful to bear. If I could have gotten those out a year earlier, so if they were the run up to the election, like this is what the president should be saying and doing, I think they would have done much better. Plus, right after the election in 2013, the entire year of 2013, I think people were just burned out and done, and there's still a fair amount of that. Now, for those of you who are members, you know that the What We Believe DVD is kind of the centerpiece of your membership package, and in that regard, it's been fantastic. But I did make a note because we've had it in the box for about a year now. Once we start getting the new Year 2 membership discs out, the Tough Liberal Questions one, we'll post all of them. They've been available to members both streaming and through their DVDs since we got the discs back in January, I guess it was. But I do need to post more of them, and I just made a note to do that because at this point I think I've gone public with 2 or 3 of the 11, and we can certainly post a couple more in the next couple months, and then we'll and then there it'll be. I thought it was a great idea, and I was really disappointed is not the word. I was really just heartbroken that they didn't do better. And that's funny. It's like it's like anything else in this line of work, or any line of work really. You start a business, you have a product, you have a lot of faith in your product, and if you didn't have faith in it, you wouldn't have gone into that line of work. And sometimes it just doesn't. It doesn't go. Sometimes it just doesn't. We're learning an awful lot, by the way, from Truth Revolt in terms of how a very small amount of money, it's still a significant amount of money, it's a 4-figure amount of money, low 4 figures, can, in terms of YouTube marketing, if it's intelligently applied, can get you to a platform of 100,000 people watching the video, and then you have a chance for these things to really break out. So again, all these little squirrels have their tails tied together. With more memberships, we can deploy some marketing money to get some of these videos seen by more people. And with my own brand like Stratosphere, which would have a BillWhittle.com commercial on the tail end of it, then you start to get in this positive loop of marketing driving revenues driving more marketing budget reaching a bigger audience, which drive more membership, and that's a nice train to be on. I was thinking about talking about it tonight. I'll probably talk about it next week. I am giving serious thought to inserting, prior to Big Bad Problems, a small project, smallish, that is far smaller than a feature film, but much bigger than anything I've ever done in the video world before. And I'm just going to leave you with that tease, because this thing's something I've been thinking about, and I don't have quite exactly right yet, but I will soon. So that'll be something to talk about next week, and that'll be really kind of fun. It'll be moving into a space I've never been in before, and a space that I've been in there before, but not in the world that you know me in. Moving into a world where conservatives just don't go and need to be. And that's enough of a tease. We'll save it for next time, which is really kind of fun. Let's see. Eric Wright says, would you incorporate more... how would you incorporate more explosions into year 2 of the Stratosphere Lounge? That is the kind of question that makes me get up in the morning. That's what I love about this group. I don't know, but I'm going to think it over, because it's a grand idea. I'm sure there's a way to do this in front of a green screen and key some explosions back there. Little, explosion pots back there might not be a bad idea either. Smoke. all kinds of cool things. It's a grand idea, Eric, and I have to tell you, once I read that question, I said, this is the kind of person that belongs in the Stratosphere Lounge. That's exactly the kind of questions that we should be asking ourselves these days. How do we get more explosions into this? I think if America had more explosions into it, we'd all be much, much happier in terms of our content of entertainment in this country. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I covered everything else. I had a question from Brent about more content about CSR, but I think I covered that. Paul Sullivan asked about the status of Bilmy. I think Bilmy's probably going to go the way of the Edsel, and for the same reasons, just kind of lack of enthusiasm. And then on the part of the buying public. And then Dave Olson was talking about Free Frontier. Free Frontier is part of Aurora, and I've talked about it on the show many, many times. So, as I said, Common Sense Resistance in 2016 with the Real World Common Sense Resistance, and Aurora in 2017 with a Real World Free Frontier. Doesn't mean we're not going to get prepped before then. There's a Viper jet out there for sale, and it's going fast. So I need to find a way to secure that first piece of hardware for the members of the Free Frontier. And that, my friends, I think will probably do it for episode 83, the actual recorded episode 83, unlike the phantom episode 83, which was nothing but what's on my iPod anyway, or iPad or iPhone, so probably better that that thing kind of died a electronic death. But this is a new webcam, which looks great, and we're going to get the new cameras hooked up with their HD cams for the Stratosphere Lounge, which we expect will be next week. I don't know until I know, but I don't see any reason now why not. We've got the hardware, we got the PC. The PC's still sitting in a box. I haven't opened the box yet. I got it a week ago. And there's a set. And what do you know? So, yeah, hopefully we'll be doing it from that set. Stratosphere Lounge version 2, because Stratosphere Lounge precedes BillWhittle.com. We've done 83 of these things. My God, man. That's more than 52. That's a couple years worth of stuff. And we have some nice surprises about people who have been working behind the scenes of the Stratosphere Lounge, and they've got some amazing work done, and it'd be a great pleasure next week to tell you all about the work that they've done. So those of you who out there are part of that, don't think I forgot you, because I didn't. I've got enough of a showman in me to want to have to open all these things at the same time. I'd really like to unveil the new look, the new banner, the new everything at the same time. And I think next week we'll do it, because I'm done traveling for the year. Finally, somebody said, Bill, you seem like you need some time off. Do you need a vacation? And the fact of the matter is, if I were to answer that truthfully, nothing would make me happier. Wouldn't be if somebody said, what can we do to reduce your stress? It wouldn't be a vacation. The best way for me to reduce my stress would be to have 10 uninterrupted work days where nothing else in the world moved. If I could just work for 10 days and nothing else moved, I didn't have more deliverables, I'd be done. I'd be a happy guy. I'd be caught up most of the time. Oh, and somebody just quickly asked, Antonio asked about the webcam. It is the, I know the name of the company. Logitech. It's the Logitech, it's the top-of-the-line Logitech with Zeiss optics. It's the C something or other, and I don't have the stuff on it, but it's, I pointed at the screen and show it to you, but as it turns out, the monitor is not a mirror, so there you go. Anyway, it's a really great camera, and it's enormously better than the webcam that's built into the old monitor and the old computer, and I'm looking at this on a giant 4K screen, which I will show you now. Just as prepared as you want to see your own face. You want to see what you look like while you're watching the internet. Here, that's what you look like while you're watching the internet. I back her up a little bit. We built a riser here, and there's a little lip on the riser because otherwise I'll shove off. That's what I see when I do the Stratosphere Lounge. There's my little comment stream moving. I think see, That's what makes the show interesting and fun. The fact that you never know what's going to happen. I'm going to trip over a cord or something, or I'm going to, I don't know, struck by lightning. Maybe there'll be an explosion in the background. You never know. We'll probably find out next week, though, because this is the end of Stratosphere Lounge episode 83. Thanks very much for joining us. Very sorry about the delay. I think we can all agree that the office looks spectacular, and you still haven't seen Astro Girl around the corner. She's just great. I'll give you one more quick look of how fabulous she looks when you walk in the door right here. Yeah, baby. That's a front door right there. That really is. That's how you walk into a studio in this town. I wanted the coolest studio in the Valley, and I ended up with the coolest studio in all of Los Angeles, maybe in the entire country. So I'm going to be here for 3 years. Better make it count. Anyway, that's it for the show this week, and thanks for bearing with me, especially, and I am dead serious, dreadfully sorry I had to postpone so many times. I just never really know, but we're done a year. And we're still in business. We're in the black. And that in itself, in this economy with this president, is saying something. So it's all due to you, as always. It's all due to you, Strata Loungers, and you members out there, and all Facebook fans and friends. I can't thank you enough. Every time I come in here, I just look around, and I just go, man, this is just not really, it's hard to believe it's real. But apparently it is. And it's going to get more real as we go on. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week, hopefully with a new stage, a new studio, new location. We'll send out those links. We'll get it tested first. And I think we might even have somebody doing that show, bring Des in to produce the show. So it'll go from being the worst produced show on the internet to being the 693,329th worst produced show on the internet. Thank you and good night. We'll see you next time. Bye. Hit the red button with the arrow to playback. No. Preview window on the left. Hit the dissolve button to